A report from the British government to be released today will argue that if countries fail to take action against global warming in the next decade, it may cost the world up to $7 trillion. Excerpts of a 700-page report will also show that rampant climate change could turn 200 million people into refugees amid drought or flood. My next guest says Asia-Pacific countries could take a role in tackling climate change. Margot Thorning is Managing Director at the International Council for Capital Formation. She joins us now live from our studios in Tokyo. Thank you for joining us this morning, Margot. Let's talk about the issue of environmental protection and climate change, especially in the context of a lot of Asian countries in which economic development is the #1 priority. For policymakers, sometimes the issue of environmental protection comes secondary to that and sometimes come into conflict with economic policies. You see things differently.
My thinking is that economic development can actually be a positive in terms of environmental protection. Research that the International Council for Capital Formation has sponsored shows that as countries get more economically developed and as economic freedom and market-based reforms permeate those economies, they emit less of everything, all the particulate emissions as well as CO2. And the Asia-Pacific Partnership, which was signed in 2005 between China, India, Korea, Japan, US, Australia, shows that the goal of economic development can actually accelerate the technology transfer that is needed to help countries both grow and emit less of everything, including less CO2.
When you look around Asia, which countries are doing the right things?
Well, clearly, countries like Japan and Korea have made huge strides in reducing the energy intensity of their economy, reducing the amount of energy needed to produce a dollar of output. The challenge will be to help countries like China and India get access to the cleaner, less emitting technology. The Asia-Pacific Partnership is designed to do exactly that, to accelerate economic development and to accelerate the transfer of the cleanest, best technologies from developed countries to China and India. For example, if China had access to the least emitting, best technologies that Japan has, they would emit 7 times less CO2 per dollar of output than they do currently. So technology transfer can be a really key to both economic development and cleaner, less emitting and less emissions of all types of particulate emissions as well as CO2.
How does the economics on this work, though? Because in some cases, for example, in China, it's much easier for them to continue, for example, burning coal, which they have plenty of, than to pay for the new technology and implement that within their current economic system.
The studies that the ICCF has sponsored shows that if China were to implement institutional reforms, for example, more protection for intellectual property rights, less bureaucracy, free flow of capital in and out, they would be able to attract the kind of high-quality investment to their power generation so that they would get the most efficient boilers that use less energy, and they would get access to the type of manufacturing equipment that's more energy efficient and emits less of everything. So by making certain changes to move their economy more toward the market-based systems of developed countries, they would get access to technology that would both help them grow and emit less of all kinds of emissions.
Margie, we have about 45 seconds left for this interview. Very quickly, where can the private sector, how does the private sector play a role in this?
How can the private sector play a role?
Yes.
Business-to-business transactions. Currently, we think that if businesses in developed countries make an effort to understand the goals of the Asia-Pacific Partnership, and businesses that have, for example, clean coal technology to offer, better steel-making technology, better electric power generation technology, if they make an effort to reach out to countries in China, India, Korea, other developing countries, and to engage in commercial transactions, to be partners with them, that will be the key to the Asia-Pacific Partnership's success.
Okay, thank you for joining us this morning, Margot. That's Margot Thorning, Managing Director at the International Council for Capital Formation.